What kind of room was it? The surroundings, the atmosphere? I mean, just...
Okay, sure. Well, it was at the penitentiary in Stark, Florida. It's a maximum security facility. We went through, I think, 4 sally ports before we hit the administrative offices. Before we got to the area where the interview occurred, probably 2 more. And because he had a female attorney at the time, we were not allowed a contact visit. So it had to be through this glass, partition. So he was on the other side of the glass. We had a little speaker, but because of that, in order to record the conversation, we had to place recorders on both sides to make sure we got it all. And so basically there's this long, narrow kind of a hallway that on the left side has, all of these little cubicle-looking things, very small, about enough room for one person, maybe 2 if you crowded in, to sit on either side. And the opposite wall was just a solid wall, and there was no window at the end. So it was like we were at close to the very end, and I would estimate this hallway was probably at least 30 to 40 feet in depth, from the last gate we went through.
Yeah.
And the attorney stayed pretty much at the far end away from us. I mean, I could hear her high heels clicking back and forth. She was pacing around, but she didn't really even pay much attention to the interview. So the people who were present, my investigator, Randall Everett, Jim Whitehead, chief of what was then called the Idaho Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI agent, I just lost his name. Gosh.
It's been a while.
It has. Bill Hagmeyer.
Bill Hagmeyer, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. He was present during that interview. But to answer your question about how he appeared, he didn't appear anxious or particularly concerned. He did look very tired to me.
Yeah. And
kind of drawn out. But as we started the conversation, at that point, his attorney was there, and she was wanting to get more assurances and all kinds of things from us, and I'd already told her no to her conditions. Well, one of her conditions was she wanted me to contact the governor of Florida and ask him to stay the execution so that we would have additional time to talk with him.
Right.
And, my reaction to that was, first of all, no, I'm not going to do that. However, I will discuss it with my attorney general and let him make the decision.
Yeah.
But that's the best I'm going to do for you. And she was not happy with that, but Bundy just said, no, it's okay. And so then we started the interview. And when we started, I gave him, a couple of brief questions, then pretty much an open-ended question, and he just went off, and I let him run with it. Took a couple of notes, to things I wanted to revisit, but he seemed fairly focused. Every once in a while, he, would kind of drift away, and I attempted to redirect him. But for the most part, he was, fairly alert and articulate. So, I was frankly astounded at the detail that he was able to provide with respect to Lynette. And of course, we had a total absence of detail on the other one he confessed to, the hitchhiker.
The hitchhiker, yeah.
Right.
What do you think about that hitchhiker thing? Why would he make something like that up? Why would he offer it forward? Do you buy that at any level, or?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And the reason I don't is because, he had so much detail to offer on Lynette, and so little. And I've gone over it in my mind, not so much lately, but years ago.
Yeah.
And, I guess my first thought was, all right, we know that, he was driving the Volkswagen. He would have gotten out to move some things out of the passenger seat area where there wasn't any seat. And, he always had a crowbar or something, a tire iron. I can't remember what all he had back there. But if it were a light traffic time and he had the opportunity, he might have just knocked her on the head before she ever got in the car. And that might explain why he never had any real details about her. But I've kind of discarded that idea because when we started asking him about the dump location, his details as to that were not very clear either. And so and he did make a statement at some point in there, and this may have been as we were walking out, so I don't even know if that made it onto the transcript, but he did make a remark like, I'm pretty tired. I'll think some more about that. If you have more questions, and if I have time, I'll be glad to help you with it. And I said, well, thanks. I appreciate that. And we left. Well, if you take all of that and put it into some kind of perspective, it makes me think that either, one, the hitchhiker never existed, or two, he did in fact have more detail and was holding it, so that we would try to keep him alive a little longer. We were pretty focused in on Lynette Culver, but we had no idea who the second one was going to be.
Right. In fact, you probably didn't even know that he was going to offer that.
Well, his attorney had told me that he had, more than one. So I didn't know if that meant 2 or 10 or what. But so I was expecting something. I was happy initially to see that, we'd been correct in our assumption that the first victim was Lynette. But as far as the other one, I knew it was coming. I just didn't have a clue what he was going to tell us.
Right.
Yeah, and even if he'd succeeded at that, and I'm sure that the same pitch was given to every other investigator who interviewed him.
Sure.
I have no idea how they handled it, but it was, Kepler was trying to exert some leadership over the whole group.
Yeah.
And in fact, he, in one of the deputy warden's conference rooms, he was basically just telling us that once the interviews were complete, we were going to hold a joint press conference. And it's Keppel, not Kepler.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Keppel.
Anyway, I'd had like maybe 4 or 5 conversations with this guy during the course of my career up to that point, and didn't know him, had never met him in person until Florida. And he was basically, trying to dictate what all the rest of us were going to do. And so I just stopped it right there. I said, no, I'm not taking part in any press conference, joint or otherwise. And I said, I will report to my boss, the Attorney General of Idaho, and if he wants to hold a press conference, that's up to him. But no, I'm not doing one with you.
Yeah.
And,
right.
So
I don't work for you.
Right, exactly. And also it just seemed like a very bad idea to me. And I think I saw no evidence to convince me that this woman was even capable of passing a bar exam. So I don't know how she became an attorney, but she was very emotional during every conversation I had with her, and she had some kind, of an emotional relationship with Bundy.
Yeah.
She was very invested in the case, and I don't think that she was actually able to function on a rational basis by the time I actually met her in person. I've forgotten her name.
Yeah.
Probably on purpose, but
she actually, I think she wrote a book about her dealings with Bundy.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody's written a book, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I've only talked to 2 people involved in writing books about Bundy, and one is Kevin Sullivan,
yep.
and then you. And, of course, the first book was Anne Rule.
Yeah.
I never spoke with her, and that's clearly evident as I read through the part describing what happened on the Idaho cases.
Yeah.
Some of the statements she made in there were so presumptive, and
Anne?
like I said, she's never had any contact with me, so I don't know where she came up with some of her ideas.